Hi friends, it's Marilyn from tarotclarity.com, and I'm real excited today because I get to share with you something that Artisan is releasing today, and that is the ability to buy their 22 Trump and Jean Noblet deck for $8. You just pay for shipping, and it would be $16 for international shipping, $8 to the US. And for those of you who collect tarot cards, you know that $8 for a tarot deck, even if it's an abbreviated 22 card deck, is an outstanding value. And it's no different than their final product of the 78 card Noblet deck. It's just that it is just the trump cards and it doesn't contain the pips. It also has the two of coin, because that is the card that identifies it as Jean Noblet from 1650. Now, what can you do with a 22 card deck? Well, the French use it almost exclusively. In fact, it's probably mostly just Americans who use a full 78 card tarot deck when they use the Marseille style. The Europeans, or not the English, but the French, almost, it's my understanding, is that they more typically will just use the 22 cards. Now, why is that? Now, maybe it had to do with the influence of Oswald Wirth, who exclusively, the Swiss occultist who spent much of his time in France, who established a deck. He created a deck whereby he only used the 22 cards. And he used it for his Tirage and Croix, which is a 5-card spread that I've used many times and referenced many times on my channel, on my videos. So it's an ideal setup. It's an ideal thing to use 22 cards for that. And the reason being, in my opinion, is that it's a lot easier to interpret the cards when you're using the Triumph or the Trump cards exclusively in a spread. So this is good news for people who are on the fence, maybe, about getting a TDM deck, because one, you can get it for $8 if you live in the US, $16 if you live internationally, and so you're not going to be shelling out a whole lot of money. I believe their regular price for the 22 card deck is $20, something like that. So you're not going to shell out a heck of a lot of money. You'll be getting a quality product because it's identical in every way to the final product without the pip cards. And it's a really great way to learn how to use Tarot of Marseille if you're only dealing with the 22 trump cards. Now, I've done many Tirage and Croix demonstrations on my channel before, but I thought it would be probably a good idea to do another Tirage and Croix demonstration using this deck so that you can see what I'm talking about. If you want to switch over, or if you want to give TDM a try, Tarot de Marseille a try, this is a great opportunity, right? Because of the value you get, and my argument that it's easier to read with 22 cards than it is to read with a full deck of 78. Now, before I switch off to the demonstration, I want to show the pouch that they also have for this 22 card deck. Now, you're under no obligation to buy the pouch. The pouch is just, I'm just throwing that in as a nice thing. But when you purchase the 22 card deck, you'll just get the 22 card deck. Mine came with a rubber band around it. So it comes without ceremony. There's no box. It just comes with the 22 cards and whatever way they feel is easiest to wrap it. And like I said, mine arrived like this, just to keep the cards together. But how can you resist this beautiful pouch? So when you go to their website, which I will post below, I definitely will post below. So if you're interested in ordering the deck with or without the pouch rather, the link will be below, okay? But if you do choose to order it with the pouch, this is what you get. The pouch comes for the profile of a 22 card deck. It's luxurious. It's green velvet, and then the lining is the back of the cards. So it's a beautiful presentation, and it's just lovely, just lovely. And it's a different size than the one that was for the full tarot deck, because they have a pouch for the 78 card deck they have, but you see they have a different profile. One is created for the 22 cards, and the other is for the 78 cards and even the box. And I like keeping the box with the 78 card pouch, because I just like how the border of the box just runs with the lining of the pouch. So if you do buy this pouch for the 22 cards, I think it costs $35, but it's a quality thing, and you're under no obligation to pay for, to buy that. You could buy the deck strictly as a plain old deck, and as I said, it'll arrive with a rubber band around it. Okay, so I'm going to take out the Two of Coins, because we're going to do a demonstration reading with just the 22 cards. I had them in order, so I'm going to handle and mix the cards. I'm going to think of a real question that I have. So I'm going to do my meditation and, figure out my question offline. And then I'll be back when I'm ready to handle and mix the cards for the final shuffle and do the demonstration. Okay, friends, so I've thought of a question, and as always, I just like to do the last few shuffles on video so that you see that I'm not staging the cards or anything like that. I'm from the Philadelphia area. I lived in Philadelphia for 10 years. I left when I started my family. So that was, well, my eldest son is going to be, he just turned 35 a couple days ago. So I haven't lived in Philadelphia for 35 years, but my sister still lives in Philadelphia, so I visit her reluctantly, I must say, because the violence in Philadelphia has really gotten out of control. Truth be told, we only visit my sister if we can get parking on her street. If we have to walk a few blocks to get to her house, we just turn around and come home. And that sounds extreme, but that's the way it is. So hearing about the shooting on South Street, I think it was like between 5th and 6th Street, on South Street, really hit close to home, because I spent so much of my life on South Street, in the social scene. Now I'm a 63-year-old woman now, so going to South Street isn't on my list of things to do anymore. But it still hit close to home, because I can relate with the young people who like to go to South Street, because it's fun and it's, it's the place to be, but not anymore. So in seeing that there was a mass shooting on South Street, really, really very upsetting to me. It happened over the weekend, I think Saturday night. And one of my former students was there. She happened to be present when it was going down. Now, she and her daughter were safe. They had just left the scene, and they were about a block away. But they heard the gunshots. Some people might argue that it wasn't really a mass shooting because it was like a fight between individuals, and somebody went home and got a gun and then just came back to shoot the parties that offended them. But anytime somebody opens a gun in public where innocent lives can be taken, that's a mass shooting, as far as I can tell. And it is being called a mass shooting. I believe 13 people were killed, 14 were injured. So it wasn't a nothing kind of thing. And the people present, you know, on South Street on a Saturday night, there were hundreds and hundreds of people on that little block. You know, that it's just how popular South Street is. At any rate, my question that I'm posing is, will the guilty parties be apprehended? And what do we need to know? What do the authorities need to know? Not that they'll ever watch my video or care to. But I'm curious, you know. So on a what I need to know basis, I'd like to know, what are the odds of the culprits being apprehended? I believe one was already shot. I think one was already either shot or taken into custody by the police. But there are others. And what does the public at large need to know besides stay away from South Street or Philadelphia altogether? Anyway, with this in mind, we're doing the Tirage and Croix. What's working in our favor? The pros is the first card. What's working against us is the fortitude. The third card is what to focus on. We have judgment. The fourth position is the likely outcome. And then the quintessential is the fifth card. Now, some people just pull the next card and put it in there. In this case, it would be temperance. The way I do it, which I believe is in the tradition of Oswald Wirth, who created this spread, is to add the numeric value of each of the cards and subtract 22 from it. So we have 20 plus 11, which is 31, plus 9, which is 40, plus 13, which is 53. So I have to do this on paper because my brain is not as sharp as it once was. So 53, I think I said, minus 21, minus 22 is 31, minus 22 again, which is 9 when we reduce it, which is the Hermit, which is already in play. So what I'm going to do is take the Hermit from this deck, which is identical. It's just that I happen to have two decks, two of these decks. And so I'm just going to put it in there. Now, when we see that a quintessential card is the same as a card that's already in play, as you can imagine, it takes on a greater weight. It takes on a greater significance, right? So not that I want to say that the spirit of the Hermit is going to take over necessarily the meaning of the cards, but it will weigh heavily. The lesson of the Hermit will weigh heavily on the interpretation of the cards. Hold on a second. I gotta take a little break because my glasses fell off my face and I can't see. Okay, so in bearing in mind that we want to know, what we need to know regarding the shooters, what's working in our favor? Well, what's working in our favor? I believe one of them has been killed or is off the table. So one of them is no longer at large. but those remaining who are just as dangerous, they may lay low. They're exiting. It might be that they're leaving the area. Maybe they're not from Philadelphia, or it's just possible that they have enough sense to lay low and not return to the scene. However, what's in the column is that maybe this will empower them. Maybe if they think they're getting away, right? Or maybe if they think they're in the clear, it emboldens them because they feel like they got away with it. What the rest of us need to focus on, or what law enforcement needs to focus on, is discovery. They need to focus on bringing them to justice. Now, this isn't the justice card, but in a sense, justice and judgment have similarities in the sense that when you're called to judgment, you're called to own up to behavior, right? So, obviously this falls in line with exactly what law enforcement needs to do in every case, is to find them and hold them accountable. The likely outcome, the Hermit card. Well, in the context of a question, the Hermit card can mean a few things. It can mean the end of something. The end is coming close. And since we have the Death card with that, and we have 2 9s, which the Hermit card is, it could be the end of a cycle. It could be the end of, talking about the end of their spree. So it's possible, I think, and likely that they will be apprehended, which is kind of interesting. You see that the Hermit is going in the same direction that the guilty parties are, right? So maybe law enforcement has a pretty good idea of who the culprits are, and, they are aggressively, with the 2 9s, going after the guilty party. Aside from meaning number 9, the Hermit can mean counsel, seeking counsel. It can also mean enlightenment, right? So in the context of the question, and because I think it's uncanny that we have 2 9s and a Death card, right? I think it's likely that, I think they'll be apprehended. And I think they are doing, they're being pretty aggressive on this one. And they're determined to bring them to be held accountable for their behaviors. So I think it's probably a hopeful thing, the way this spread has turned out for us. I think it's likely, because they are, it seems, using their resources and aggressively to get to the bottom and apprehending the individual or individuals still at large. I think, I think this reading demonstrates, I'm going to put this back with the other deck. I think this reading demonstrates why, if you're learning Tarot de Marseille, and if you're just starting out, and with Tarot of Marseille, why it's easier to learn how to do a reading with just the trump cards, because it's pretty straightforward. I mean, you get the message, of each individual card, and it spells it out a lot more easily than if you had the nuance or the subtlety of, 4 out of 5 cards being pip cards, right? They're not, their meanings aren't as determined as they are in the triumph cards or the trump cards. So I think it's a lot easier to use the cards when you're only using a 22 card deck. And so for this reason, I think this is a great opportunity if you're interested in learning TDM at a minor investment of only $8 or $16 international to get your hands on a quality deck of cards from the, and I didn't even mention it was Jean Noblet, excuse me. Jean Noblet, 1650, probably, our knowledge seems to indicate that the Noblet is the earliest Tarot of Marseille style, created in 1650. There's only one copy of it in the National Library of France. And this is a nice quality linen paper, linen. I don't know if you can see it. But it's a nice deck. And I have two of them, so I like it. And because I have the pouch for it, it will be going with me on vacation. And it's just lovely, really lovely. Okay, friends, so I hope this has been helpful. And I'm going to put the link down below where you can purchase the deck with or without the pouch. Just indicate with or without the pouch when you check out. And until next time, friends, peace and stay well.